Episode 31 of the Couple Mets podcast. I'm Ian Bosniak. He's Matt DeSantis. Told you we'd be back a little bit sooner than regular. Matty, the series is headed east after two in Los Angeles. Not a bad outcome. How we doing?
No, not a bad outcome at all. I think it could have definitely have went worse. A lot of people started to freak out after that first game, which, the Mets have always bounced back pretty well this season, so I wasn't completely like ripping the hair out of my head. Was I happy losing? Was it 9-0?
Yep.
So was I happy losing 9-0 the first game? No, but did we come back and did Sean Manaea pitch a great game two? Yeah. Series is tied 1-1. I think right now we're looking good. Stadium needs to be packed.
Yeah, and I hear they're wearing the black uniforms tomorrow, so I'm really hoping that everybody, like the Mets, put out an MO to wear black out the stadium. That would be insane. But I ultimately think at the end of the day, and we touched upon this last episode, I think the ultimate goal was going to Los Angeles and at least taking one, right? And
Yeah.
the way that the Mets were able to rebound yet again after, the aforementioned 9-0 loss, really was a testament to who they are and who they've been all season. Well, I mean, since June, but getting right into the cruxes here because we really want to preview not only tomorrow's game, but the next couple at City Field. Game one, Kodai Senga goes. He had nothing. Ended up throwing 30 pitches in general. He threw 18 cutters, four fork balls. I felt like none of them were for strikes. Everything was down in the zone. The fastballs he couldn't locate whatsoever. He was all over the place. Uh, I mean, he topped out at 94 and a half miles per hour as well. So his velo was down. And he really just everything from the get-go, everything looked off. He looked uncomfortable. He says that he's fine. But when it comes to just how he performed in general, when you look at the stat line at the end of the day, he ended up going an inning and a third, and they were going to tap him out at around three or four innings in general. But he wound up giving up three earned runs, walked four, struck out none, two hits. A lot of the damage was done by himself. With again
Yeah.
with the free passes. What do we do with Kodai from here? I almost wish that Billy Epler was still here to pull a little Phantom IL so that we can toss him out. Not toss him out, but it looks like we should go in a different direction. So just to add like Adam Ottavino back on the roster so we have another arm. I just, to me, Kodai, it was great. Gave us those two innings against the Phillies and the DS, but I can't trust him moving forward.
No, and I wouldn't have trusted him in game one. And for some odd reason, I feel like Carlos Mendoza, who's done a great job this year, trusts two people a little way too much, and that's Kodai Senga and Edwin Diaz. And Diaz is paid for big moments, so I don't. I get on like trying to have him roll him out for those big moments. I agree with that. So I don't understand why you're gonna throw him out there thinking that like you're unleashing a weapon when I think like he's still pitching as if he's in spring
Yeah.
training. Um, he doesn't look right. He doesn't look himself. I just don't think you can trot that out there because it's so much uncertainty, and we don't need uncertainty. We need like actual results, and we can't. I feel like we're playing with fire sending him out there because like he's just gonna get roughed up. His command isn't there. He's thrown all over the place. Balls in the dirt, balls behind Alvarez. Like this point, I wouldn't even have put him, I don't think, on the CS roster.
Yeah.
And it's sad because he's a good pitcher, but I just don't think right now is the time. Like he obviously doesn't have it. He's rusty, I bet. It's probably a mind game too.
I mean, he's thrown a total of five and a third of an inning this year, right? So that just kind of goes to show you. And then the inning and a third in the National League Division Series. And listen, the fact that he was ready to go, okay, we tipped our cap last week. The Mets were able to come back in that game and make a statement there. But at the end of the day, I think my biggest issue was, listen, if you're gonna have him start and have him go three or four innings, you have to be confident in what you were getting. I felt like in the divisional series, he kind of settled in a little bit after he gave up that leadoff home run to Kyle Schwarber. He walked one other batter, and that was it. Outside of that,
Mhm.
he struck out three batters. So to me, I kind of said to myself going into the start, okay, he's on a 40 to 50 pitch limit. Let's see what we can get. And I knew it from, right after the first inning. And he gave up the two runs. And I was questioning big time why he was sent out there for a second inning. And I don't know if it was maybe Mendoza was trying to preserve his bullpen early, and I understand that. But a guy like Kodai Senga, again, not pitching the amount of innings this season, not throwing X amount of pitches this year, you're exactly what you said. You're kind of playing with fire there, and I felt like sending him out there for the second inning, despite Reed Garrett getting out of it, despite giving up the hit as well. I just felt like that was one of my question marks when it comes to Mendoza's bullpen maneuvers. Who, again, I agree with you, excellent inaugural season, and also definitely a manager of the year candidate. But at the end of the day, I thought that was really, really kind of boneheaded. Again, I understand trying to get as much as you can out of them, but when you throw 30 pitches and you only throw 10 for strikes, I think you know something's off, and you knew it right from the get go. So I definitely thought that that was a little off.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not really too sure how they're gonna go about
I just and then it kind of goes back to like not only again, it's hard to justify looking in hindsight saying, yeah, it was the worst idea in the world when in reality he didn't pitch too poorly against the Phillies. But now you have Kodai Senga on the roster, and how are we going to use him? Right?
at this point I would
There's
probably say
no
bullpen.
yeah, you put him in the bullpen, but how can you trust him in a situation like that? Right?
Yeah.
It's all hands on deck in the postseason.
Yeah. Definitely no high leverage situation, that's for sure.
Exactly. And that's, is he someone that's going to come out of the pen and give you innings? I don't think so. So it's definitely a sticky situation. And that's why I mentioned before the whole Phantom IL type deal. I mean, I bet you could find something wrong with him, right? He's had a issue. He's had a tricep issue. He's had a shoulder issue. I don't know, figure something out. But that game was
Yeah.
ugly in general. And, just quickly after that, I kind of thought that the bullpen maneuvering was a little odd afterwards. Reed Garrett came in, relieved him, but despite pitching well, allowing the hit, giving up the run in the second, which was inherited by Senga, he struck out two batters. Then he went to David Peterson for two and a third. And I understand why now with Peterson most likely set up to start game five. But in that moment, I kind of felt like maybe it was a good idea to get Tyler McGill some innings.
Hmm.
I don't know how you felt about that. And also, they waited until to throw Danny Young, um, for an inning and a third towards the back end of the game. And I just felt like Danny Young was a guy that maybe you could have tossed out there, especially once. I mean, I don't know in hindsight because Peterson gave up the three runs as well. So it kind of, shit kind of hit the fan, but there were kind of multiple things that they could do, but the Mets were completely off in game one. They looked like a shell of
Yeah,
themselves for the first time in weeks.
exactly. And it looked like, yeah, it looked like the team we saw in April.
Yeah,
It didn't look like the Mets, and that's why I kind of, like I said before, I shrugged it off.
as did
Um,
I. As did I.
but I agree, I would start Tyler McGill over Kadai Senga at this point. I really would. And
I have a feeling David Peterson's gone game five.
I would like that. I like
Yeah.
David Peterson, and I
And
think he's deserved that.
and then McGill can maybe piggyback off him if he can only go 4 or 5 innings if he's not, stretched out enough right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, the Mets did rebound yesterday, which was lovely. Picked up a 7-3 victory, put up a five spot in the second inning. There were multiple things that were highlights of the game. But right from the jump, I just need to say, I knew Francisco Lindor was going to hit that home run. I knew it. He was all over Ryan Brazier, all over him. And he was waiting, waiting for that pitch. And he waited back on that ripped it brilliantly. And I mean, Lindor, you can't say it enough. The guy's in the middle of everything. His second postseason home run this year, he's just been tremendous. And to start the game off like that, the Mets really, really needed that after a 9-0 loss the day before.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And he set the vibe. He laid down the momentum for the rest of the game. And then they were just all over that Dodgers bullpen.
Oh
Um,
man. Oh
they were
man.
all over them. So I'm taking this game at a time.
And they
Taking a game at a time.
Yeah, and listen, they squandered opportunities too. They had bases loaded multiple times and didn't end up being cashing
Yep.
in. The lead should have been much bigger than 6-0 at one point, and then eventually it should have been a much larger margin that the Mets won by rather than just 4 runs. But there's so many things, and I guess at first I was going to touch upon Sean Manaea because we mentioned from the get go that he was brilliant, but just offensively speaking, as I touched upon Lindor, how about Mark Vientos? He's
Yeah,
turning into a postseason superstar.
and I want to keep. I don't want to say anything because I want him to just keep playing. I just want him to keep doing his thing because he lit a fire. His what he's done this year has been nothing short of like spectacular. We have a third baseman, we have a hitter. He's a player, and I'm happy he's on our side. That was a huge grand slam yesterday.
Oh, no question. No question. And he's only the third Mets player to hit a grand slam in the postseason. That includes Francisco Lindor, obviously. But Vientos goes 2 for 5 with 4 RBIs, hit the grand slam. And it was so funny when he hit that grand slam because the Mets were trying to capitalize. They were in a good position to do so. They walked Francisco Lindor. Mark Vientos said that he took it personally after the game. And Landon Knack was throwing like, listen, if you were sitting back on a breaking pitch,
Hmm.
he would have cracked the first slider that he saw. But
Yeah.
you could tell the entire at bat, he was flailing off slider after slider after slider that were right down the dish. And a lot of people probably were like, why isn't he ripping the ball out of the ballpark? The man was sitting fastball the entirety of the time. He took one really, really nice hack at a fastball, ended up fouling it off, and then took that fastball that Knack threw just to get over the plate when it was at a 3-2 count. Drilled it beautifully right back up through the middle, right center. I mean, it was definitely more center, but right center field. That actually wouldn't have been a home run at City Field, but nonetheless, we'll take the short porch over at Dodger Stadium. But
Yeah,
I mean, the legend of Mark Vientos just continues to grow, dude.
I agree. I agree. And just I'm happy for him. Just
Yeah,
I'm happy for him in general. So
yeah. And then, other big offensive performances from yesterday. Uh, Starling Marte, he's turned on the Jets here in the postseason. He went 3 for 5 yesterday with an RBI as well as a double. Jesse Winker went 1 for 3, but also drew 2 walks. So he was on base. He's now got a 1,076 OPS thus far this postseason, just a few ticks behind Mark Viento. So just shows the type of productivity that Jesse Winker's given you. And then Tyrone Taylor ripped an RBI double as well to contribute. And he's really taken over that spot from Harrison Bader out there in center field.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, he's you really have to ride the hot hand and the hot lineup. I feel like in the playoffs,
Yep.
and Mendy, he's not making that many changes because he's going with what's working. So that's usually the best way to go about it. And I'm not gonna question him right now because we're in the CS and we just I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah,
Go win a couple at City Field.
yeah, you don't want to jinx anything. Absolutely. Yeah, go win a few at City Field. What's your take on the Jose Iglesias situation right now? Jeff McNeil was added to the NLCS roster. Adam Ottavino was left off. So McNeil is healthy enough, took one rip the other night. Uh, it was a pretty nice knock, but it was the second baseman was positioned perfectly. Thus far, Jose Iglesias has a 485 OPS here in the postseason. I don't know about you, especially tomorrow night against Walker Bueller. I think I'm ready to give Jeff McNeil a start at second.
Either that or maybe a night off for Nemo. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure how I'd go
I
about it.
could I could see that. I mean, you just have to we have to recognize that McNeil hasn't gotten the ABs as of recent, so you have to hope that
Hmm.
he can replace that type of offensive productivity, especially with the fact that a guy like Iglesias isn't hitting. But that's something that we haven't mentioned. I mean, Brandon Nimmo and Freddie Freeman have something in common. They're both hobbling around left and right. I mean, his
Yeah.
plantar fasciitis has flared up. He's having another issue. So that's it won't keep him out of the lineup. He says that. I mean, it's definitely a day-to-day situation, but I didn't think about that. I don't know. That might be too risky offensively speaking here in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a hell of a decision. I'm really excited to see what the lineup construction is tomorrow.
So are you right? Second base though, Iglesias or McNeil tomorrow?
Hard because McNeil really hasn't been facing. He what did 2 games at Arizona Coast League?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
Played a
know,
few in the
man. It's hard. I would probably just stick with Iglesias
Okay. All right.
personally, and then if you want to do like a defensive sub a little later, or you ride Iglesias at second, and like I said, give Nimmo a night off with his foot, and then throw McNeil in left, then you're getting McNeil some at bats. If you know maybe he's 0 for 2, you do a defensive swap with me with Nimmo. I don't know. There's a bunch of ways you can realistically go about this.
Okay. So we differ outside of the possibility of giving Nimmo a day off, but I definitely think that it's time for Jeff McNeil. Maybe the postseason will light a spark underneath him. The biggest story from yesterday, however, Sean Manaea, absolutely brilliant. Don't let the 5 innings fool you. The don't let the runs fool you. He was spectacular. The only issue was his command at times. He did end up walking 4 batters. He went a total of 5 innings. Again, 5+ innings as Phil Maton came on to relieve him in the sixth. Gave up 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 runs total. There was an error by Jose Iglesias, so the inning never should have occurred that way. Jose Iglesias made, it was a weird hop off the mound. It was a hit back up through the middle when the Phillies had runners on first and second, but the ball squirmed away from Iglesias as he tried to field it. So even listen, it happens, even the best. But thankfully the Mets were able to shrug that off. But that catered into the Mets bullpen a little bit. And I think that's something that, given the fact that the Dodgers were down 6-0, Dave Roberts was probably happy about that they got to tap into the likes of Phil Maton and Stanek and Diaz afterwards. But Shaman and I just brilliant again outside of the walks. That arm slot, that those 2 inches was
Yeah.
absolutely everything.
No, for sure. And I saw them, they were doing a comparison with Chris Sale, and it was like right on. I was like,
He figured it out.
that's, yeah.
He figured
And
it out
Manai's been a big piece this year, and he is well deserved for more money. So
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
he's helped us so much. We would not be at this point without what he's done. So
I mean, he was just terrific yesterday with the fastball up in the zone and the sinkers away to right-handed hitters and the sweeper. He made Shohei Ohtani look like a fool.
yeah.
A fool, had 2 strikeouts and then a little pop fly. I mean, it was absolutely the way that he handled that lineup, navigated that lineup. I thought was terrific. Hats off to Sean Manaea again, and then Maton, Stanek, and Diaz came on. Diaz recorded a 4-out save, and he went to his fastball, trusted his gut, and he was able to get the big outs when needed.
Yeah, and that's realistically what matters is getting the big outs when needed. Um, I Diaz, I feel like has not looked like himself a little bit, but
He doesn't have the bite. He doesn't have the bite on the slider, and then he hangs the slider, you know, and it's since it doesn't have the bite as well, it's easier for hitters to lay off it because they see it right out of his hand that it's going to be like down in the dirt.
mhm.
And then when he does throw it for strikes, it's hanging over the dish, and that's why everyone has said to him, trust your stuff. Trust your stuff. Throw that fastball. Not only is it 98, 99 miles per hour, but it's got movement on it. There's a reason why he's so lethal. Throw it. And when he gets into certain situations, I question why he doesn't go to it more and more, but he did so in the ninth inning last night. And that sealed the deal for the Mets, and they went on to win 7-3. Beautiful split in LA, and now we head home for three, as mentioned. Tomorrow night, it will be Luis Severino taking the bump for the New York Mets against Walker Buehler. And Walker Buehler had a dreadful season. 16 starts, went 1-6 with a 5.38 ERA, 75 and a third of an innings pitched, 64 strikeouts. So definitely not encouraging there. And then he also threw 77 pitches on October 8th against the Padres and got beat up. So to me, tomorrow, definitely something that the Mets should consider is, waiting for that fastball. He throws that at a 29% clip. And
Hmm.
when you look at opposing hitters, they're hitting 342 off of it.
They'll
So,
they'll be ready for that.
yeah,
I feel like Bueller's their weak link in terms of their starting pitchers.
I mean, it's Bueller, and then they don't have a lot of starters.
And then
Jack
it's
Flaherty,
yeah, and
Jack Flaherty was
Yamamoto.
great. Yamamoto, is so right now. You don't
Yeah.
really know what you're gonna get. And then you have Walker Bueller, who has been terrible, was terrible against the Padres. And when you look at, I mean, geez, the the first top pitches that he throws: four seam, cutter, knuckle curve, sinker, 342, 238, 278, 291 opposing batting average. Changeup and slider, he doesn't even throw anymore. He's abandoned because there's averages near 500 and 1,000. The only pitch that he's thrown effectively is the sweeper. So the
Yeah.
likes of Pete Alonso and I mean JD Martinez probably won't be in the lineup against him, but that JD Mart be aware of that sweeper because he's going to throw it.
Yeah. No, for sure. So honestly, like I'm really just excited um for the series to come back to City Field. Hopefully we show out in terms of fans. Unfortunately, I will not be able to be in attendance, but I'm sure our fellow Mets fans will show out.
Oh, they'll take care of it. They'll take care of it. I won't be in attendance either. I got to find a nice watch party or some shit. But Walker Bueller, again, now I have his stat line. I was trying to find it for some reason, something X'd out here on my tabs. But Walker Bueller against the Padres went 5 innings, threw 77 pitches, allowed 7 hits, 6 earned runs, walked one, and struck out none. So as far as it goes from last game, it looks like he was probably throwing strikes and probably leaving things over the plate. I didn't really get a chance to watch the game, but the Mets should they should be ready to hit, and they should hit early in the counts as well. And also you got to imagine guys like Yamamoto, especially someone who has pitched in a dome for his whole career and now in LA. And then even Walker Bueller, it's going to be cold here the next couple of days at City Field, so that's going to affect things as well.
Yeah, no. And hopefully the boys had a nice workout tonight or something. When it's a little cooler out,
Yeah,
let loose.
let loose. And hopefully the wind is tailing out and hopefully Severino can keep the ball down, so that's not a problem for him, and Bueller can keep the ball up, so that's good for us, and we can hit some out of the ballpark.
Let's hope.
Who in the lineup right now? Give me no, because we always do this. Give me the three players that you want to see collectively speaking, because not only for tomorrow, but moving forward throughout the rest of this series, however it pans out, who are the three hitters that you need to produce and that you think are integral to the Mets coming out on top in this series?
Lindor, Alonso, Vientos could win us a series, those three. They keep propelling us, they keep hitting, doing what they can. I have no faith. I have more faith than anything in these guys. If those three continue to play the baseball that we know that they can play.
Love it. Yeah, for me, I think it would be Alonso. I trust Lindor and Vientos right now, and knock on wood, don't.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
said kind of like basic ones. I would love to see Alvarez get going.
Yeah, so I was gonna say Alonso, Alvarez, and then a combination of Jeff McNeil and Jose Iglesias, whoever
Yeah,
starts at second
that'd
base.
be great.
That's key for me because right now you have Lindor, you have Vientos, you're getting the occasional bop from Alonso, but then you got Winker that's playing well. You have Starling Marte that's playing well, but we need some of those other pieces to get involved. Brandon Nimmo's another one, and hopefully he can get healthy and that's not affecting his swing, which he says it's not, but you never really know. They like to hide these things, especially in the playoffs. Luis Severino taking the bump tomorrow. What do you think he has to do in order to keep the Dodgers lineup down?
Command based on player specifically. You gotta go low with Otani. 1 through 5 could kill you. Those Dodgers, they have bats after bats after bats, so you have to be very pitch specific and with your pitch selection. I think he has to keep the ball low and he has to hit his targets. And if he does that, we need to see at least 6 or 7 out of him. He needs a big outing this postseason. I hope tomorrow's the night.
Absolutely. I'm hoping that yes, he keeps the ball down. He can paint the corners properly. I don't want to see him hanging any changeups or sliders down the dish because the likes of Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, and of course Shohei Ohtani will take advantage of that.
Yep.
But do what you can to keep the ball away from certain hitters, keep it down. And again, as I said before, paint your corners, and I think you'll be okay. Severino's used to pitching in cooler weather. If the adrenaline's pumping, if the fans are behind him, if he's coming out throwing 98, 99 with command, with the off speed and the breaking stuff on top of it, you're looking at somebody that can potentially go 6 or 7 innings. It's just dependent on how he approaches the front end of the lineup.
100%. And if he approaches them with cautious and like if he does that, hits his corners, there's no reason why he shouldn't have a good outing tomorrow. He has got the stuff.
He has the stuff. He did it all year. He's done it here in the postseason as well. Minus a hiccup or two, but again, I'm very confident in Luis Severino going into tomorrow, and I'm actually pretty confident in the Mets going into tomorrow. Again, I like the fact that they're facing Bueller. The Dodgers had a day off, so they will have their bullpen at their disposal, and I don't think that they're going to be afraid to use it when need be. So the Mets need to capitalize on their opportunities when they get them because we know the Dodgers bullpen is pretty good despite us roughing a couple of them up. So Thursday we have Jose Quintana going against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. To me, for Jose Quintana to continue doing what he's done, which has been nothing short of spectacular,
Yep.
we need to see him be effective when it comes to the sinker, the curveball, as well as the changeup. I'm confident in his fastball right now because he knows how to paint the corners with it. And I feel like he's in a position right now where he's pitching effectively, knows how to use it. But it's those curveballs and the changeups that he can tend to leave over the plate and get knocked around a little bit. And if he has the bite and the curve on them, and if he's pulling down that shade, right, I think everything will work out for him, even against a really good Dodgers lineup. I'm a little afraid of him against the righties, but if he elevates the sinker a little bit, you saw how vulnerable a guy like Will Smith is or a guy like Teoscar Hernandez is if the pitch has enough movement on it. So that's kind of what I'm looking for from Quintana on the mound. But when it comes to Yamamoto and how the Mets should approach him, I think that they should approach him the same way that they're going to approach Bueller. Hit him early,
Yeah.
often, recognize the Dodgers are going to be quick at the pen and capitalize when you can,
Yeah, try and run the pitch count up too.
without a doubt. Without a doubt. Um,
So that's huge.
yeah, that absolutely is huge. Last note before we wrap up here, episode 31 of season 3. Just want to ask you, I mean, again, if it goes to a game 6 or a game 7, right?
Hmm.
We'll be here. We'll
Yeah,
be here.
100%.
But can you give me a prediction? Come on.
I don't know. I don't like
And
predictions
again,
because
it
I
doesn't
would
have
rather
I don't
I
need you to
would
give me game by game. I just want to know which team and how many games.
All right, I think Mets in six.
That's okay. We're on the same page. Enough said. Enough
I
said.
think in six.
Enough said. Maddie, got any final words before we wrap up?
Oh man, not nothing crazy that we haven't already addressed. I mean, tomorrow's gonna be I've been loving this October baseball. I've been loving it.
It's also going to make the winter shorter.
Yup, it's gonna make the winter shorter. I love this team. I love what they can do. I think that they have what it takes just because of how close they are to win it all. I do think so. But we have to go one series at a time. Let's go out tomorrow. We have to hit Bueller. If we can take the first one at Citi Field, we're putting a lot of fucking pressure on them for that game four.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Tomorrow's a very key game for the Mets. If they can
Yep.
go up 2-1, again, in the cooler climate with pitchers that aren't used to it, with the way that the Mets have been playing, I
Yeah.
think that they can put the Dodgers in a vulnerable position. And again, we'll see what happens. I don't want to jinx anything.
Yep.
Before we wrap up, remember to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and X. We are at Cup of Mets. Subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to download the SeatGeek app. Punch in code Cup of Mets at first purchase to get $20 off. And last but not least, head over to Smack and Sunflower Seeds. Punch in code Ian05405 to get 10% off. And for Matt DeSantis, I'm Ian Bosniak.
Let's go, Mets. Hopefully next time you hear from us, we're celebrating something, baby.
Hell yeah. Let's go, Mets. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.